everybody, Dr. Justine, Dr. Blake here, and today we're going to talk about the importance of taking care of your feet, your knees, and your hips, and how that affects the rest of your spine. And really, it's about taking care of your foundation in your feet. When you look at your feet, lots of us, if you have sore feet, everything hurts and you're just so grumpy. And some of the conditions that you can have is things like plantar fasciitis, pain on the bottom of the foot, especially when you wake up, pain in the big toe for bunions, pain between the first and the second toe, which can be Morton's seroma, numbness in your toes, which could be from your back, or pain in the ball of your foot, which can relate to that poor arch. Because a lot of times we think of the arch just on the inside of the foot, but we forget that we can have an arch across the top of the foot and on the side of the foot. So there's three main arches in the feet. If the feet turn in like this, that can affect the knees to turn in, and that's called overpronation. And sometimes one foot pronates or turns in more than the other, which will affect your knee and your hip, which creates a torque in the rest of the spine. Other times we can walk on the outside of the foot, which is called supination, and that's when it can lead to the more of the bowing of the knees, and it again affects the hips and the lower back. So today, right now, we've got 10 exercises to start with your feet, over 5 for your knees, and we got over 5 for your hips. So we got lots of information how to protect your knees and your feet, and then of course your hips. So starting off with your feet, we want to start with some of the exercises to get your feet warmed up. And so one of them is just scrunching your feet out, so you're making the inside of your arch big. You scrunch your feet up and focus on the inside arch, and you will be able to tighten the bottom of that foot, all right, as you work with the bottom of the foot. Another exercise would be to lift your big toe. So you're going to lift just the big toe, and then the rest of the toes stay down. Just your big toe, and then the rest of the toes stay down. And then the one I found the most difficult is to spread all your toes. You're trying to spread every single toe. I find that really difficult to spread out those big toes. For me, one of the things I have to deal with is a hammer toe. And that means when the toes start to bend here on the outside. And so one of the exercises you can do, especially if you have bunions or hammer toes, is to traction on each toe to pull them out or pull out and wiggle them up and down. A great time to remember to do that is every time you shower or bath. One of the other exercises is really making sure, especially if you have plantar fasciitis, is stretching your calf and all parts of your calf. So a lot of us know about the stretch of the calf. You can have your knee bent or straight, but to stretch the big part of your calf to help stretch what's called the gastrocs. And we can do that both sides to stretch your calf, but we forget what's called the soleus, or into the Achilles tendon, this part of the ankle. So that is done with both heels on the ground and bending both knees. So it's a lot more awkward, and if you switch, both heels stay on the ground and bend both knees, and you're stretching this lower part of the calf instead of the big ball of the calf. Another exercise is doing the alphabet. So what you do is you draw the alphabet. You can do this sitting or standing, and you draw capital letters, B, C, D, E, F. You're going through all the letters of the alphabet on both areas. So like A, it's even harder with your opposite foot when I'm right-handed, C, D, E, F. And you go through the entire alphabet, getting the range of motion in your calf. Another exercise for your feet is to go what we call skiing. So you go on your outside edges as if you were skiing, and you go switching sides. So switching sides to work on both sides. So here I'm on the outside edge and then the inside edge, and you're pretending like you're skiing from both ways. And then forwards to your toes, and then backwards to your heels. Forwards to your toes and backwards to your heels. And you change that ski to a circle. So you're going through all edges of your foot, trying to focus on all that proprioception through your foot to help strengthen your ankles and strengthen your arches. And of course, you would go both directions to help your feet. I want want to show you an exercise with plantar fasciitis. You can use a lacrosse ball or you can use a tennis ball, but very good to focus between meals to massage the bottom of your foot and to roll it around even into the ball of your foot, to massage the ball of your foot and down into your arch. If you do have plantar fasciitis, you can do this with a 500 milliliter water bottle with ice, especially at the end of the day. So you may need more heat in the beginning of the day and then ice at the end of the day with plantar fasciitis. Very much helped with orthotics. Orthotics help prepare and support the inside arch, the transverse arch, and then the longitudinal arch. So if you have orthotics that can support all of those areas, or if you have heel spurs, which you would need to get x-rays to determine, that's if you have a heel spur on the bottom or even in the back. If the Achilles is pulling and the tendon is pulling really tight, you can get it in that area as well. Orthotics can help you with that. Another exercise is called a toe crunch. So use a towel, and then what you do is you crunch the towel and move the towel towards yourself, exercising your toes to be able to strengthen your toes and try and get that towel towards yourself. All right, so we've got quite a few exercises there for your feet. We went through 10 exercises for your feet. Also want to work through some exercises from your feet up to your knees. So one of them is just a gentle quarter squat. So this is not a full squat, but it's just a quarter squat, just warming up your knees to help get your knees warmed up. And you can do 10, 20, even 30 of them to help relax your knees without a full range of motion. You can start to do knee circles to warm up your knees, and these circles the opposite direction to warm up your knees and help them relax. Sitting, you can do constant just mobilizing, which is just sitting or standing, just getting them rocking on a regular basis. If you are using your knee, you can, sitting, rocking, you can put pressure just under the fossa of the knee and just gentle extension in and out to help relax that knee and the muscles as the hamstrings come into the knee. And then turning to working on what's called your VMO, the muscles on the inside of your knee. The reason for that is often the outside muscles of the leg get a lot stronger, and then that kneecap twists to the outside, it pulls to the outside, especially since 80% of the population is more of an overpronator, so that when the feet turn in, then the kneecap goes out. So that's why the orthotics can help your knees, hips, and even all the way up to your spine, because then if the foot doesn't turn in, you can help to keep that kneecap in line. What happens is often this inside muscle gets weak. So what you can do is sitting, you can do a sitting leg extension, but turn your foot out, strengthening the inside of the knee. And you don't have to have a weight, you just kick out, hold it for 3 to 5 seconds, and then come back in. Hold it for 3 to 5 seconds, and come back in. So you're strengthening the inside of the knee. When you're doing the quarter squats, you're strengthening the outside of the knee. And then for the hamstrings, you can do just kicking back to strengthen through your hamstrings, or even a bridge. So you're lifting, that'll work your buttocks and your hamstrings as well. Coming into the knees, it's very, very important to stretch your front and your back of the knee. So your hamstring stretch is the stretch of the back of the leg. If the hamstrings are very, very tight, then you often can't take a full stride, and that affects your knees. You get a lot more discomfort in your knees. You could use a roller stick or a foam roller if you see our mobility class to lengthen the quad and have more flexibility in your quad, as well as your hamstrings, in order for the knees to work better. To strengthen your quad, you can grab your leg from the back. This can be done laying down or standing, and you can strengthen the quad, the front of your leg. If that is difficult, you can use a table or a chair and just bending down, and that'll make it easier on your knee, but still stretching the front of your leg. Because for your knees, you want to make sure you stretch front and back, and go back to your calf stretches that are coming into the back of your knee as well. As we move up from the knees to the hips, We especially want to work on the hip flexor because that's your psoas muscle. Very, very important. It affects the hip flexors and affects your lower back. So the hip flexor stretch, tuck your bum in, bend both knees, and you'll feel it in the front of the hip. Very important to help with hip mobility. Great for athletes who want to prevent back injuries and get more flexibility, more power, more speed. You want to stretch the beginning at front of that hip flexor. To get the back of the hip, you can do the quad stretch as a sitting, like you can do it standing for your balance, or you could do it sitting and stretching the buttocks or pulling the knee towards your chest. Each stretch you're going to do it to comfort level. Again, like a figure 4, or pulling your knee to your hip, to your chest to stretch through that buttocks. One of the hip exercises I wanted to work through the hip flexor, instead of a stretch and static hold, is more of a dynamic one. So you can either hold a chair or stand very, and you're gonna, like a J, you're coming back and forth to warm up through your hip. So if I went sideways, you can put pressure right on the hip flexor and come back and forth to warm up your hip. To warm up your hip, you can also do what's called abduction. So coming up and coming sideways. Again, you could use a chair if you need to. So you're going sideways, and you would do both sides, aiming to get 5 to 10 both sides. And you'll be able to see, for example, I can't go to the left as easily as I can to the right. So we're going forwards and back, opening for abduction. And next one is going to have a bit of internal rotation. So we come up, come to the side, and turn down. Come to the back, come back out to the side, and turn down. I guess it's going to work your balance as well. And out to the side, and turn down. And you would switch sides, come up, abduction, turn in, come back. Come up, abduction, turn in, come back. Again, you can use a chair to get more motion through your hip. And the next one through your hips is more of a circular figure 8 pattern. You'll see dancers do this. So they're doing a movement. You do not have to look right. The whole key is you're just getting focused on movement. And again, so this, you're imagining, to make it easier, imagining your knee is doing like a figure 8 in the air to get more mobility through your hip. To stretch the side of the hips, of course you can do a standing and touching the ground, but if you cross your legs and touch the ground or go as far as you can, you will get that stretch a little bit differently on either side of your TFL, the muscles on the side of your hip. You can do hip hikes, so that's to get more mobility in your hip, and that's simple. You can do that inside the stair or just standing to get more movement through that hip and that pelvis, especially if you have one low hip. If you've seen your chiropractor, you know that you have one short leg or your hips are uneven. You can work on getting that mobility through your hips. As we work through the hips, it can also be done on all fours. So if you go to like position like a dog, you come here, you can bring your leg out to the side, right? As a motion like a dog peeing. You can bring your hip coming upwards to work on the back motion, and then you can bring the leg coming forwards. So if I came from the side, you can go to the side and then bringing your leg upwards to work more of the buttocks and the hamstrings, and then also coming to the front to make sure that you get all motions of that hip. Sitting for some of the stretches. If you're sitting, you can do stretches by sitting and reaching forward. It doesn't matter how far you go. If you have sciatica, this is not a stretch for you. You want to keep your knees slightly bent because you want to stretch that L5 nerve root. But if you don't and you're working through your lower back and your hips, you can reach forward as well as do your abduction. So you're stretching through the inside of the hip by pushing with your knees down to help that hip. You can work sitting to mobilize through your ankles. and through the top of your foot. And sitting, you can work again through those ankles and the top of your foot. You can stretch to bring those toes towards you to get a deeper calf stretch and a stretch into the toes and into the top of the foot to make it easier for a deeper stretch while you're sitting. I just want to hope all of this can help you guys for your ankles, knees, and hips. As always, Dr. Blake and I are thinking about you. We're wishing you the best in these tough times, and we want to know that we're here to help. We offer free virtual conversations or FaceTime or a chat on the phone. We definitely miss you, want the best for you. We hope that you can do these exercises at home, and we get to see you soon.